Okay, I'm going to finish up this painting that I started last month as the demo for impressionistic paintings. This is the photo that I'm working from, as you may remember. So I just want to keep it really loose and really punch up the colors and just put a lot of energy into it. Well, that's the plan anyway. So let's just see how we go about that. So first of all, I'm going to mix up some, sorry, that was tight. There's the palette. I'm going to mix up some light yellow, a little bit of water in there, and white. I'm using the high flow, but the white is heavy body. It's hard to moving back and forth between palette and painting. So I'm just generally mixing that orange and the yellow together with a little bit of white till I get sort of this color I'm looking for. Which is a warm kind of glow off here in the background. And then this warm glow, there's a bit of it happening. It sort of comes up here too. Even warmer up here. A little bit down there. Most of that's gray. And a little bit in here. And a little bit of this warm glow sort of picks up on this shoreline over here too. So I might as well use the same color. I'm always talking about trying to use the color in a lot of different places within your painting. It just helps for consistency and to keep the painting uniform. Needs to be warmer here, just along the edge here. I'm just putting in that little bit of glow there, places. A little bit of a glow back in here, and in there, there's some. Okay, and just clean off my brush a bit. So I'm going to go back in and get a little bit of this yellow, a yellow minus that orange, and I'm putting in quite a bit of white. When adding white, it really makes your colors much more opaque. So if you have things that you need to cover up, it really helps if you put the white in. And then this is I just want to blend this down a little bit. So it's not quite such a hard edge. We'll be talking about values this week. working on this are the values. Things are a little bit crazy when you're working with sunsets because you've got a lot of warm colors in the background where you normally wouldn't have in a landscape, because the sky is generally pretty cool. So that's coming along. We just grab some more of this yellow. There's a bit of a line there I just want to take out. Like that. And there's really none of that warmth is really reflected. The water is actually quite, just put a little bit there, just because I can. And it is an impressionistic painting, so it's my interpretation, my impression of this. So I want to put this really dark, the really dark sea here. I want to put that in. It's going to make that sky seem much lighter to make that darker. So I'm thinking I'm going to use, if I can get it open, I'm going to use ultramarine blue, as it is a cooler blue. And maybe a little, I'll pour out some purple here. I might be using a little of that. And I'm actually going to put out a little tiny bit of black as well. And gray. I have neutral gray, so I don't actually have to make my own gray, but these grays, I'm pretty sure I made those with, because they look too blue to be the neutral. Anyway, let's see what we can do about putting in this dark sea back in there. That sort of dark color continues into that little bay. I've put a little tiny bit of purple in there as well. So there's the dark sea up against the bright sky. I'm just trying to follow this horizontal line that I had in here for the horizon. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more purple in there. That'll help warm it up a little bit, and also maybe a little bit of gray, because I want to neutralize it a little bit. Okay, so that's got some gray. I'm gonna put a little bit more in there. sort of this warmer color, this lighter color. I'm going to add a little bit of white to my mixture now, just to make the value not so strong. So there we go. This is the same color, just with white added to just bring the value down. Because as you can see, this value is quite a bit lighter here. It's like everything's backwards in a sunset picture. Your cools can be at the front, and your warms can be at the back. Use this darker one just around the island a little bit. There. Yep. And I might even think about using some of the same color just back here on this little special land. Because I kind of, as I said, I kind of like using color in more than one place, right? Right. A little bit of shadow going on here, using the same gray as I've used there. Okay, so, well, that's beachy. This is I'm gonna tone that back a bit at some point, and then this is sort of like a swirly bit in here. And in there, let's put some of this back in here. A little bit of that lighter value of the blue back in there. That looks a bit odd. I'll just take that out for now. Okay, maybe a tiny bit more white into that mixture just to bring it down a little bit more. Yeah. Same color. Oops, could have been a little bit too much. You'll see. One thing about acrylics, they always dry darker. So this is exactly the same color, just with a little bit extra white, a little bit more white added. I want to get a feeling of movement in here, so I'm sort of swishing this around a little bit. And kind of get rid of that real pinky color. Yeah, don't mind it. And looking at my photo, I may have overemphasized this a little bit. I'm going to bring some of that in, and then this little bit of swishy stuff, because it's bringing off there. So that kind of helps with making this look brighter. Okay. And it's just another little shot of white into that color. Because same color, just adding a little bit of white each time. Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of liking this color. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of that up into the sky. It's going to dry a lot darker. But I just like the idea of having some of that up there. Bring in some more grays. So I have a strip of blue I really should be putting in there. And I will. Just to finish off that sky, I just want to, I just need to gray this out a little bit more. This is actually all cloud here. It's just a sort of a colorful cloud. Just sort of going over this a little bit. This is with, I put a little, same color, just added some neutral gray to that color. Okay? So same color, just neutral gray, and there's a little bit of white in there. Put something in there, it looks kind of right. Me making funny noises now. See this in here, I'm going to put in some blue. It's a little bit of a blue sky showing up there. I'm just going to down there. Acrylic paint sure dries quickly on the palette. Too quickly. Too darn quickly. Okay, now that original gray that I did the water, there's some of this orange in it now, just because it was on my brush and it went back in. So, whoops. I'm starting to peel off that layer that I had on there. Can we use a little bit of that gray? I think we can. Put a little bit more of that gray in here. I just want to blue. So I'm using teal and I'll use cerulean blue in this, I think, rather than the ultramarine. It's just quite a bit warmer. And I do want it to be a nice sky blue. But it has to be fairly light. If it looks right on your palette, it's probably too dark. Just because of the way that acrylic paints dry, it's sort of just something you have to just kind of get over and realize. Like, this is probably too dark. This will dry probably too dark. Just sort of bring it up into there. Finger painting. That's what happens when acrylics dry. Too fast, no blending. It's not like painting with oils. You gotta go in and sort of mess around with it a little bit. So there, yeah, I like it. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of this blue that I've used up in the sky. I'm going to bring it down here because it's kind of a bit of a reflection of what's going on up there. You know, I want a nice big fat juicy brush mark. I don't want all my brush marks to be the same width, same direction. I want to change them up. Yeah, this is pretty much just a black blob. That shoreline along there, I think it's a little, it almost looks like the island's floating, so I will come back and change that out. I'm going to use this blue for some of the lighter sides of these rocks. What the heck? Right. Okay. back in there, I'm just going to use maybe purple, just really almost like a glaze of it. I just want to dull that down a bit there. It's a little bit too in your face. Okay, I don't want to totally annihilate it, that warmth back there, but I do think it's a bit standy-outy. So I'll just go down. This is just with almost just a little glaze of purple on that. Push that right back. And since I have it on my brush, let's just put that a couple other places. This glaze of purple. Remember I said I wanted to bring that back? I thought it was a little bit in your face. I think that purple glaze on top of that will be good. I could even, even put some of my medium in. I haven't used any medium yet, just a little bit of water. I'll put some medium in it. Just to, because I want to bring that, let's see, now I need to put more of the paint in there because I put the glaze in. It's saying I need more pigment. Okay, so I'm just going to glaze over this whole section. With the purple. And maybe back in here. There. Just to tone those things back a little bit. There's a big flash of light along that edge. That's better, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. So now I need to put some darks in here and then the flashes of light. So the darks I'm going to run with the dark that I use a lot is ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. And I will probably be a little bit heavier on the burnt sienna, just because I want to keep it a warm dark. And I really love these warm bits in here. Actually, I have some alizarin crimson. I'm going to maybe give it a touch of alizarin crimson in there too, just to help make it really nice. So again, this blaze of light is sort of just hitting along here. And then all of this back in here should really be much darker. I'm changing my brush around. All different directions. This paint, my paint is fairly transparent because it's the high faux. So I'm just trying to get in some interesting texture without being totally trying to keep it impressionistic without putting in too much real sort of, well, that's the way it was type of detail. Breaking away from what is to what could be. It's a hard thing because your brain is constantly telling you, well, actually, maybe that's not the color it should be. And you have to fight back and say, well, that is the color I want it to be, as opposed to that's the color that it should be. I'm trying to connect my darks. Connect them so that there's movement around the piece. I'm going to have a brighter along here, so wherever I want it to look really bright, it's good to put it next to something quite dark. So I'm just going to add some of that dark in there. Like that. And I want to put some more darks on this island. But I'm just going to randomly put those there. And then this island has a bunch of dead trees sticking up. And this is actually something that really, anybody who knows this island, this is the sort of stuff, although that one's way too thick. This is what will be recognizable for people in the area that have ever been to this island, are those dead plants coming up there. And a little darker back in here, a little bit more finger painting there. And I want to bring this warm dark out this way too. It's already drying up on my palette. I don't have that much. Why I like using a 1-inch brush, you can get some really interesting brush marks. You know, you don't have to keep going back and forth. You can get thick, thin. See, I want to just connect the dots. Connect these darks all together. So it kind of helps draw your eye through the painting. And let's do that as a dark on the end there. Keeps you from falling off the edge. Okay. That's good. Okay, so now we want to, those brights that kind of run along here, they're very, very orange in this picture, but I'm thinking I want to make them a little bit goldy orange. There's actually a lot more green on there too, but I'm not a big fan of green, so this is my interpretation. So I can do what I like. Have fun. Have fun. That is an awkward little thing there. Right there. So let's get some yellow ochre. just do a little bit lighter at the top of that island so it stands out a little bit better as well. That'll be in a little bit. So I've got some yellow ochre and a little bit of orange, a little bit of burnt sienna in there. Might even put a little bit of, oh, that's wrong. I thought it was, I thought it was blue, but it was black. That's okay. It was only the tiniest of tiny amounts. So now I need to add white to this. So that's a mixture of yellow ochre, orange, burnt sienna, a tiny little bit of black that's snuck in there. Okay, so now I'm going to put in these brights here. Boy, oh boy, do they jump, eh? It's amazing. But again, this will dry darker and it won't quite have this impact. Which is good and bad. Sometimes you think, oh wow, that's perfect. I wish it would just stay that color. I'm going to do little ups and downs there. Okay, a little bit of an impact here with the light and here. Here, here, here. I'm leaving some of these backgrounds showing through. You know, the background color, stuff that I've already got on there. I don't want to cover it all up because you know, there's a lot of really interesting layers there. But I'm just going to go in here. Do. Weird and impressionistic. Mark making. Maybe that's a good way to kind of explain it. It's mark making. That's all down there on the beach. Maybe do a couple little things just to show a little bit of light hitting here and there. Yeah, baby. I'm liking it. There we go. Just the tiniest little bit of hit of light there. I just want to, I'm thinking I just want to do a little bit. I just want to lighten up the top of that island just slightly so that it kind of stands out a bit more from the background. So that's basically gray, a little bit of purple in there. Whoops, a little bit too much purple. So gray, purple, that's purple, it's sort of like, maybe some ultramarine blue. Where can I put that? My palette's getting quite full. I have a very small palette here. And I'm thinking that is, yeah, that's pretty much the same color as what's there now, which means it's going to be a lot darker when it dries. So I have to make sure that when I put it on, it's a lot lighter because it's going to dry darker. So I'm just mixing up the color. I've just added a little bit more white to it. And I could even, I'm thinking I'm pretty close to this watercolor. I could even put a little bit of water going around the island here. To help that island stand out a little bit. This is almost a nocturne. Yeah. And I'm thinking I just want to, excuse me, I've got my prescription on my glasses is due for a change, and I find it sometimes somewhat difficult to see detail because the reading part of my glasses is not good. So I have to get right up and personal with the piece. Yep. Okay. This is sort of a gray. So I'll take this opportunity to go in to the rocks in here a little bit. Where I feel like I need to put some. I don't want to get too finicky with them. But I do. There we go. I think that's good. All right. Now, this is this color I'm using right now is what I was going to use on the topic, this rock. But you know, I think it's a little bit too light, and I think that's why I sort of ended up putting it everywhere else. But okay, so I just want to. A little bit of light up in here, but now I've already put my little sticks up there, so I have to be very careful not to. There we go. So now he's standing out more. I'm just trying to focus but I think we're pretty much done. I might just want to cool this off a little bit back in here. small distraction. Just putting in my order for Chinese food. Okay, so back in here, I'm just going to just push that back a little bit. I just want to cool that down. And I'm trying to find a spot where I can stick some of a little bit. Just using I'm going to try using a little bit of ultramarine blue with my medium, just to tone that back a little bit. Just to push it back a little bit. Maybe those rocks there a little bit too. And maybe over here. Just tone it back ever so slightly with the blue and the medium. So it goes purpley. It's kind of nice. And that too could be pushed back. Okay, not too bad. Now that all of this is dried, I almost want to punch it up just a little bit more with brightness. Just I'm just going to put in a bit more white into that into this same color. I still have some of that, and it's not completely dry yet on my palette. And I just want to put a little bit more of that real bright, bright. Okay, I'm going to concentrate this bright in one area. If I put it all over the place, your eyes are going to go all over the place. So I just kind of want to have it there, I think. And it's quite light. A little bit more white. Rather than wasting it, I could. Just, is it lighter than that? Right. Remember I said there was a kind of something right there that kind of bugged me. So this is a good opportunity to do something about it. maybe a little bit up in here. There. All right, I'm gonna say that's it. That's it done, that's wrapped. Okay, so that is, I will very carefully try and take this out of the holder. And then I will show you, this is what my palette looks like at the end. And then the painting. Try to get it into focus. Very impressionistic. Really, there's no detail. The little rocks maybe is the most detail, and those sticks, those what used to be trees, are probably the most detail. And the thing is the further back you get, the less that matters.